What it do, homies? We are continuing down our Warhammer 40k lore. This came by request of a donation. I think we're getting to individual stories now. Robert or Roboute Guilliman, Last Hope of Humanity. Let's go ahead, shut up and turn it up.
TK, then it's likely you've heard the name Roboute Guilliman. As the 13th Primarch, Genefather of the Ultramarines and their successors, and the Lord of Ultramar, Roboute Guilliman has had a lot of time in the spotlight.
Okay.
From his landing on the planet of Macragge, to his reorganization of the planet's government, and then his conquering of the 500 worlds that would become an Imperium in miniature. Guilliman's logistical giftings would spur any task undertaken to great heights. The man that would become General Mid.
You know, it's interesting, kind of like some, Greek, right? Kind of inspiration here, but with Alexander the Great kind of conquest type of energy. That's what I'm getting from him.
And then Regent of the Imperium has cemented himself as perhaps the most important human in Warhammer 40k. When someone is asked who the most influential person to them is, many will cite either their mother or their father as having a hand in their development. The demigod son of the Emperor of Mankind is no different. Conor Guilliman, the man who became Roboute Guilliman's adoptive father, was one of the two consuls of Macragge at the time, and the man that gave Roboute his name. A name that means Great One. The Primarch was raised by his adoptive father to be the best statesman that he could be, focusing intensely on the ideals of justice and responsibility. As Roboute grew and matured, his youth was marked by a hope for a brighter future for humanity. By age 10, he had mastered all of the subjects that even the wisest and most intelligent teachers on the planet could educate him in.
Okay.
However, as with all of his brothers, his greatest genius lay in the art of war. In the arena of logistics and organization, he was without peer. During his first proper war, a campaign to bring a land of barbarians and thieves to heel, he not only won his battles, but he also won the respect of his enemies. This modus operandi of not merely exterminating those who oppose him, but bringing them into the fold would stay with him throughout his long life. The young Roboute Guilliman would not have long to celebrate his first victory. Upon his return to the capital city of Macragge, known as Macragge City, he found his father mortally wounded by an assassin's blade. With his father no longer there to guide him, Roboute restored order to the city and assumed the mantle of ruler of Macragge. Under his leadership, the planet flourished, enjoying a time of plenty such as had never been seen before in its long history. Conor Guilliman's influence on his adopted son reached further than he could ever have possibly known. By instilling in Roboute an unshakable integrity, an unwavering sense of responsibility, and the humility to admit when delegating tasks to others was the correct course of action.
Man, I know that they're like the Adeptus, or I know they're really, really tall, especially Primarchs, but geez, when you see them compared to just regular ones, God, man, how tall are they again? Like 10 feet? That's crazy, man.
Conor sculpted the man that would later become one of the greatest leaders that the Imperium of Man could ever hope to rely on. With his death, he galvanized his son's resolve to make the lives of those he was responsible for as good as possible. Though the planet grieved for its fallen leader, its new liege bore the promise of an age of hope and idealism. Despite the air of enlightenment that he exuded in public, there was a side of him that most never saw. Roboute Guilliman discovered his rage as he slaughtered the men who conspired to murder his father. By the time of his death at the hands of his traitorous brother Fulgrim, he could clearly remember each and every time that he had succumbed to his anger. Amongst these scant few instances, perhaps the most notable occurred high above the surface of the planet Calth, upon the bridge of the Macragge's honor. Lorgar's betrayal was something that even Guilliman, in all of his strategic brilliance, could not predict, even after the Wordbearers crashed a gigantic void craft into the surface of the planet, and were actively slaughtering their ultramarine cousins. Guilliman originally believed that this catastrophic incident was accidental fratricide. So far was the thought of betrayal from Roboute's mind that it took personal admission from Lorgar himself to convince the Lord of Ultramar that they were no longer allies. Indignant and appalled at the sheer gall of his brother's atrocities, Guilliman officially halted his pleas for a ceasefire. In its place, he broadcasted a vow to bury not only his traitorous sibling, but his entire legion as well. The wrath of Ultramar had boiled over, as seen in Know No Fear.
Rescind my previous looped broadcast. Replace it with this. Lorgar of Colchis, you may consider the following. 1. I entirely withdraw my previous offer of solemn ceasefire. It is cancelled and will not be made again, to you or any of your motherless bastards. 2. You are no longer any brother of mine. I will find you, I will kill you, and I will hurl your toxic corpse back into Hell's mouth.
He hands the horn back to the Vox officer.
Put that on repeat immediately.
Guilliman ushers Gage, Shipmaster Zedoff, and a group of other senior executives towards the Strategium.
Our objective will be the Fidelitas Lex.
A personal score, then.
He looks at Marius Gage.
Don't say anything, Marius. This is the one battle of my career I'm going to fight with my heart rather than with my head. The bastard will die. The bastard.
I was merely going to object to being absent at the moment you kill him, sir.
My Primarch, sir. Long-range signal from the Fidelitas Lex.
So he ignores my plea for ceasefire, but I tell him to go and screw himself and he makes contact immediately. Put it on.
Have you finally lost your temper, Roboute?
I am going to gut you.
You have lost your temper. The great and calm and level-headed Roboute Guilliman
Good voice
has
acting.
finally succumbed to passion.
I like this.
I will gut you. I will skin you. I will behead you.
Ah, Roboute.
I believe it.
Here at the very end, I finally hear you talk in a way that actually makes me like you.
Same.
You made us stay our hand while you committed murder.
I did not
It's
like him,
called
but
treachery, Roboute.
You maggot! You treacherous bastard! Our father should have left you out in the snow at birth. He should have fed you to Russ. You worm. You maggot.
As the battle for Calth progressed, Guilliman's rage at his betrayal had built to a fever pitch. His legion, his sons, many of whom he knew the names of and had personally advised, were dying. There was little he could do. As the Word-Bearer's fleet engaged the now crippled Ultramarines fleet, the bridge of the Macragge's honor was utterly destroyed, venting all aboard that part of the ship into the cold vacuum of the void, including Roboute himself. It was there, in the silent, inky black, that he found the outlet for his aggression. Guilliman never stopped screaming, though there were none who could hear. The first Word-Bearer died with his head forced down into his chest cavity. More. Another son of Lorgar made the mistake of remaining in the Primarch's reach. Guilliman ripped his spine out through the Legionary's breastplate and tossed his corpse aside. More. The next traitor moved in to try his luck, and lost his head to a punch that regarded Astartes' armor in the same way that a hammer regards chalk. More. No. No more. Not yet, at least. His sergeant, Thiel, was motioning to him, desperately trying to get his attention. It was time to fight a battle that mattered. Every coin has two faces. Just as Roboute's
Rage.
father, Conor Guilliman, instilled in him a strong sense of justice and honed his skills of statecraft, his mother, Tarasha Uton, made sure to foster his humanity. Under her guidance, Guilliman never lost his sense of perspective. While he was, without a doubt, beyond the capabilities of a normal human, Tarasha helped to develop his empathy and laid the foundation for his great compassion toward the people of the Imperium. Being the wife of the late Conor Guilliman, Tarasha had a thorough understanding of governance and acted as Roboute's closest advisor on more than one occasion. So great was her political acumen that even the chapter masters of the Heresy-era Ultramarines respected her for her merits alone. Guilliman's parents bear a striking similarity to the parental figures of another character, who many consider to be the greatest hero of his time. Peter Parker's entire life is defined by the now immortal words of his uncle. With great power comes great responsibility.
you know,
Every
this
time-
that might be the most single popular phrase, word sentence, not word, but phrase that has ever been uttered. And maybe I would say recent human history. You know what I mean? With great power comes great responsibility. You see that everywhere. You only movies that ain't even fiction. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy where you've seen that everywhere and how real it is, right? Because, you know, it applies to real life too, right? So we ain't got superpowers, but, you know, like influencers and everything, responsibilities and stuff. Not even that, you know, parents, right? Not great power, but just that responsibility. It's just so crazy.
He dons his mask and web shooters. Spider-Man strives to live up to the standard that his late uncle set for him. That being that if a man be of significant ability to help others, he also bears an obligation to use that ability to do so. After his uncle's death at the hands of a criminal, Peter's Aunt May becomes his greatest voice of encouragement. She nurtures and enables him to be all that he can be, whether it be a man or a superhero. Guilliman's parents are Uncle Ben and Aunt May writ large. Conor established the standards by which the Primarch would lead his life and organize his legion. And Tarasha stood by Roboute's side, encouraging, advising, and enabling him to strive to those standards. In addition, she sometimes offered creative solutions to problems that even he struggled with, as seen in Angels of Caliban. Guilliman took some time to gather his thoughts, searching for the words that would convey his nebulous and miasmic collection of hopes and fears about Imperium Secundus. In the end, it could all be rendered down to a simple statement, one that was almost impossible to voice. Uton waited expectantly, though Guilliman detected a hint of impatience.
Do I need to say it?
No. Do not think the lion is an ally.
I see. You cannot trust him. He likes his secrets. He has lied to you more than once.
No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar.
But I thought that Primarchs remembered everything.
I take your point.
Do they?
He is also a character of action. He excels at adaptation. The emergent strategist. Oh, he plans well enough. But it is determination that sees him to his greatest success. A determination to overcome everything set against him, despite the odds or the price.
Give me 6 hours to build a tower, and I will spend the first 4 measuring bricks. I have spent many hours building Imperium Secundus, but he will wreck it in the next 5 minutes. We have only just begun what we need to do here. Long on the theoretical, short on the practical.
Is it so bad? Let him be the warlord. Devote yourself to being the statesman we need you to be. You will stop him going too far. You and the new emperor. The lion respects you and looks up to Lord Sanguinius.
The Lord Sanguinius is distracted.
He has a lot to occupy him. Another reason you must concentrate on what you must do and not second-guess others. Lord Sanguinius rules the Imperium, but you must run it. Manage the lion as you would anything else.
If he is of a mind to usurp me, and is my match in intellect, how can I stop him without resorting to force?
Uton turned down the path, heading towards an ironwork arch in the hedge that surrounded them. She was almost out of sight when her reply drifted back to him.
That is easy, my son. It is time to start measuring bricks.
2 warrior kings met the day that the Lord of the First landed on Macragge, the Primarch of the Ultramarines and the ruler of the 500 worlds, Roboute Guilliman, and the Primarch of the Dark Angels, Lionel Johnson. The Night King of Caliban made planetfall with enough pomp and circumstance to make even a man like Roboute Guilliman insecure in his own home. The two were brothers to be certain, alike in purpose and drive. They both served the same Imperium, however, their methods could not be more different. Guilliman's stately approach to matters was inefficient by the Lion's reckoning. He himself preferred to offer 2 solutions to a problem: compliance or destruction. Throughout the Lion's stay on Macragge during the heresy, the 2 demigods butted heads on many issues, as seen in Knights of Caliban.
Too long Illyrium has gone unpunished for its
must be taken
misdeeds,
directly
even
from the
in the lifetime of your father.
This text.
It was the birthplace of violence and discontent. There can be no cure for this infection at the heart of the Imperium, save complete excision.
Illyrium is not a single entity. It is a place filled with people of many loyalties and manners. You cannot condemn a whole state for the crimes of a few.
Not a few. Illyrium is non-compliant by any terms of definition. Your planet, the capital of the 500 worlds, has harbored dissident elements since the inception of the Imperium. They are not your citizens, brother. They do not want to be your citizens, and they will not serve the Imperium. They betrayed and killed your father.
How dare you bring mention of Connor to this debate? He sought peace by all means. If I were to strike back in his memory, it would not be justice. It would be revenge.
You are weak. We fight for the future of mankind. There can be no forgiveness, no remorse. Make plain what you suggest, brother. Illyrium's infrastructure is minimal, its resources scarce. The contribution to the Imperium is far outweighed by the resources spent trying to regain control and maintain authority. Orbital scouring. Measured, directed annihilation of all opposition within Illyrium.
Insanity! This is no solution at all!
A few million people are an anchor on our 3 legions. How many of the 500 worlds still burn because we have this constricting thorn vine about our throats? Better to burn it to the root and be free of its grasp
Sound
forever.
like he needs
A few million?
cough drop.
My people are not expendable
Lounge.
at any cost.
Your people? Your people? Are they not our people?
The two were so at odds with each other on matters of policy that it took a common enemy to bring the two together. That being Conrad Kurz, who had stowed away on the Lion's flagship, the Invincible Reason. Kurz had been waiting to wreak havoc on the citizens of Macragge and needed to be stopped for good. During the time of Imperium Secundus, the empire that was meant to succeed the Imperium under the assumption that Terra had fallen to the traitors, Guilliman bore many insecurities and a great level of mistrust toward the Lion. However, there was one of his brothers for whom he bore the utmost love and respect. Sanguinius was installed as Emperor Regent of Imperium Secundus soon after his arrival. Under his leadership, both Guilliman and the Lion were able to ease into the roles of Lord Warden and Lord Protector, respectively. While it was certainly an improvement to have the 3 Primarchs acting in positions that suited them, this did not solve every problem. The Lords of the 1st and 13th continued to clash over policy, and it was made all the worse by the problem of Conrad Kurz, who had been terrorizing the people of Macragge for months. Though the Night Haunter was eventually captured and brought to trial, Sanguinius was continually plagued by visions of his own death above the surface of Terra. The Primarchs conferred and resolved to breach the Ruin Storm and reinforce Rogel Dawn at the Imperial Palace. While Sanguinius' fleet did manage to make it through to the Sol system, both Guilliman and the Lion's fleets remained trapped on the dark side of the Warp Storm. Despite being unable to follow his beloved brother to the throne world directly, Roboute managed to get a message through to the defenders as he approached, as seen in echoes of its
The dark side, right? That was the Eldar, right? That's their name. The dark side of them, the ones that give in to the sadistic stuff, right? To please, I'm trying to remember it. Is it Slanesh, right? Kind of like the chaos god of like pleasure, or it's the dark Eldar, right? God, it's so much information. I believe I'm correct. That's where they got trapped at, right? That's the dark side of the warp.
eternity.
Sanguinius, what transpires on the surface of the throne world, I cannot say. What horrors you've endured, I cannot imagine. All I know for certain is this. I am mere days from the system's edge, and within a solar week, I will be in the skies above Terra. With me, I bring the entire might of the 13th Legion, and I am not alone. Word has reached me from Russ and the Lion, at the vanguard of the 6th and the 1st. Our numbers are enough to cleanse the heavens and tear the world from the Arch-Traitor's grip. Hold on to hope, brother. That is all I ask. Can you give me that? Can you stand your ground for these last ultimate hours? Those elusive twins, victory and vengeance, are coming. This war ends the moment I reach Terra. Hold, in the name of the Emperor.
Ooh, I like how he called them elusive twins. Victory and vengeance. Is that what he was reading? Ooh, I like that.
The Imperium we have built together. I will be with you soon.
Not soon enough. Roboute Guilliman arrived on a planet covered in ash, a place with broken down walls and a bleeding corpse upon his father's throne. In a few short years, 9 of his brothers had turned traitor, and 2 of his remaining loyal siblings lay dead, slain at the hands of the arch-traitor Horus and the now demon prince, Fulgrim. His determination to return home was quickly replaced with desperation to save what was left of his father's dream. With Guilliman at the head of the largest remaining loyalist legion, there was little choice for who should lead the charge to drive the traitors out of the Imperium. As he reclaimed each world, Guilliman saw firsthand what devastation could be wrought by a legion of space marines. Along the warpath, he penned the Codex Astartes, perhaps the most influential document in the entire setting. The work divided the Space Marine legions into chapters, 1,000 strong. It was Guilliman's hope that with such comparatively small numbers, a tragedy like the heresy could never happen again.
This is Guilliman's work. Run that back. He's the one that's responsible as to why there's factions. And I haven't even covered that video yet, but I've been seeing hints and stuff about it as I'm, going through, some of these creators and their videos and everything.
Divided the Space Marine legions into chapters, 1,000 strong. It was Guilliman's hope that with such comparatively small numbers, a tragedy like the heresy could never happen again. Despite being made of sterner stuff than any normal human, the tolls of 7 years of galactic war, combined with the loss of his brothers and father, began to take their cumulative toll on the Primarch. His desperation to rescue his beloved Imperium was slowly coagulating into another form of determination. Determination without any noble goal. The lessons that Konor and Tarasha had spent their lives imparting to him were falling on a hardened heart. This bitter determination found an outlet over the skies of Thalassa when the Ultramarines cornered the fleet of the traitorous Emperor's children. In front of Roboute Guilliman was the one that had committed the first fratricide amongst the Primarchs. Fulgrim had long since given himself over to the service of the dark god Slanesh, becoming a twisted creature of scale, flesh and venom. A blight on the galaxy that no one would miss. This was an opportunity that could not be wasted. Nothing could be held back. The full might of his chapter was to be visited on the traitor scum. Guilliman's determination was rotting. Like scum on a stagnant pond, his resolve was decaying back into desperation. A desperation for a decisive victory. A real blow to the enemy. No more reclamation and rebuilding. No more rehashing old glories. It was time for revenge. Against the advice of his captains, Guilliman opted to teleport onto Fulgrim's flagship, the Pride of the Emperor, and occupy the Demon Primarch while his sons worked to destroy the Voidcraft. Within the bowels of the Pride of the Emperor, the two brothers had their reunion. Their duel was titanic. But with movements blessed by the god of excess, Fulgrim restrained the avenging sun in his coils. Seeing a wound in the warp left on Guilliman's neck from the Battle of Kelth, Fulgrim, the blighted phoenix, opened his throat with a flick of his wrist. As he lay bleeding out, his Primarch biology unable to heal such an infernal injury, Guilliman saw his sons throw themselves at Fulgrim, only to be turned into red mist before they could land a single blow. One of his most beloved sons, Aenid Thiel, desperately ordered an emergency teleport to the safety of the Ultramarines' flagship. At the cost of far too many of his sons, Guilliman was recovered, though his wound never stopped bleeding. As he died, sorrow embraced his heart.
Dang.
Roboute Guilliman, 13th son of the Emperor of Mankind, Primarch of the Ultramarines, the Avenging Sun, and the Lord of Macragge, was no more. The body of the Primarch was returned to his homeworld, where it was preserved in stasis at the Temple of Correction, where it languished for 10,000 years until... Where before Roboute Guilliman had sat, a pale, stasis-locked revenant, now the Primarch stood awake, alert and very much alive. His presence was immense, dominant as a thunderbolt suddenly filling the shrine with its crushing pressure. Guilliman was clad in a magnificent new suit of armor, an ornate masterwork that had traveled all the way from the forges of Mars, within Call's auto-reliquary. In one hand, the Ultramarine's Primarch held the blade of the Emperor, lit now from hilt to tip with leaping flames, and in his eyes was a look of such murderous intensity that even the loyalists within the shrine quailed to see it. It was as though a spell had settled over the shrine, though outside the din of war thundered on. Within that echoing chamber, friend...
I'm sorry. He said he was no more, and now he's alive again? I'm thinking back to the biology of what the Adeptus Astartes, on what they're made of, right? What goes into them. And that's right, they can be recovered. Okay, okay. Anyways, it looks like he got a Zenkai boost. I like that.
And foe alike stared awestruck at the legendary figure reborn in their midst.
Theoretical. I live. Second theoretical. I recognize nothing. Third theoretical. I am faced with forces that are of the Imperium. Practical. I will kill them all.
An incoherent scream of rage shattered the silence. A single Khorne Berserker charging headlong through the stunned combatants to launch himself in a flying leap at the Primarch. Guilliman moved with such blistering speed that the Inari themselves would have struggled to match it. His burning blade drew a pyrotechnic arc through the air as it swung, bisecting the Khorne Berserker at the waist and hurling his severed halves to the ground. As the Chaos Worshipper's armored corpse crashed to the floor, the spell was broken. With a great howl of hate, the Black Legion warriors surged towards Roboute Guilliman. Wordlessly, the noble demigod strode to meet them, and then the carnage truly began. First to die was the sorcerer whose powers had shaken the temple to its foundations. Guilliman raised his mighty gauntlet, the Hand of Dominion, and a storm of armor-piercing fire erupted from it to rip the tainted psyche to pieces. Next to fall were the remaining Black Legion berserkers. Following their comrades' example, they flung themselves screaming at the reborn Primarch. Like their fellow, they were reduced to so much armored meat, smashed from the air with terrifying speed. Guilliman was running now, storming forward through the hail of bolts and shells unleashed by the Black Legionnaires. Rounds exploded against the Primarch's armor, but none could pierce its inviolable plates. As he crashed in front of the ranks of the Black Legionnaires, Guilliman let out a building roar of pure, undiluted fury. The Primarch's first blow threw a Black Legionnaire high into the air, blood streaming from behind the corpse in a red trail. His second strike smashed the traitor Terminator into a bronze and marble column, with enough force to drive the Chaos Worshipper clean through it. And out the other side, a spiked power fist swung for Guilliman's chest, only to be lopped from its wielder's arm before the blow could land. Guilliman's return swing parted his attacker's head from his shoulders, cauterizing the stump of the traitor's neck as the body crumpled to the floor. On it went, the Primarch moving with such speed that even the heretic's superhuman reactions couldn't save them. None could match Guilliman. None could even come close, and the few opponents that landed lucky blows found their weapons turned aside by the Primarch's masterwork armor. Tigurius released a thunderous barrage of psychic energies, thumping tectonic shockwaves that hurled heretic Astartes from their feet and shattered their armor like porcelain. The Chief Librarian felt Guilliman's gaze upon him then, for just a heartbeat. The Primarch's appraising stare seemed to strip Tigurius down to his soul. Then, Guilliman stormed on through the enemy ranks. With every blow, the Primarch of the Ultramarine sent mutilated corpses tumbling through the air. His expression was graven granite and frozen hate, a mask of vengeful anger that had endured millennia. For Guilliman, his last memory was a desperate battle against a tainted brother, a fraternal contest of godlike strength and barbed, hateful taunts, then poison and pain beyond endurance. Now he found himself in strange surroundings, facing a twisted horde of creatures that were nightmarish parodies of the Adeptus Astartes. Not that his apparent allies struck Guilliman as much more familiar, but he could at least detect who in this vast sepulchre was tainted by chaos and who was not.
Yeah, right. So, because what do you say, 10,000 years done passed, so there's a whole lot of stuff that's changed. But bro is out for blood, right? This armor is pretty sick. You know, there's a lot of armor designs in Warhammer, and most of them intricate, but this is tough. Like, this armor is so tough that if I was to just buy figurines, not ones for like tabletop or anything like that, you know, just kind of like maybe 2 or 3 inch, you know, standing figurines, this will be one of the ones that I would first buy, because that design is crazy. And now that I'm sitting here, what was the guy's name again? Astartes Anonymous? Bro, this is like listening to an audiobook. You know, at first, here at the beginning, it was kind of difficult, right? Because there's a lot of not necessarily big words. It's just words in their lingo that I'm trying to grasp. It takes a while when you're listening to this type of stuff to kind of put your mindset into this world so you can start understanding what they're talking. I'm here now, but I feel like it took a while, you know what I mean? So I can fully grasp what's going on. But yeah, Bro got his Zenkai boost and is on rampage. So see if he gets that revenge battle.
And for now, that was enough. Guilliman had been thrust into a galaxy that had been devoured by suspicion, stagnation, fanaticism, and decay. After the forces of the Black Legion had been repelled from a crag, he withdrew into himself, rarely leaving his quarters. The only people allowed to see him were personnel that bore pertinent information to the current state of the Imperium. Much like a man who has lost a loved one and throws himself into work to cope, Roboute found his own coping mechanisms in logistics and data gathering. Compiling knowledge of this awful new galaxy was not the only challenge that faced the recently resurrected Primarch. He also had to come to terms with the fact that the people he loved were no longer a part of it. Marius Gage was the first chapter master of the Ultramarines chapter after the heresy. While he and Guilliman were working together, Gage acted as both a confidant and an advisor to the Primarch. In the same way that Malcador stood resolutely by the Emperor, Gage acted as Guilliman's rock for all of the time that they shared. Without Gage present in his life, Roboute treads on the edge of a knife, and only time will tell whether he is capable of staying the course without his most trusted advisor. The Ecclesiarchy was another unwelcome addition to Guilliman's new life. Constructed upon the belief that the Emperor is a god, the Church of the Imperium had become an overzealous arm of the state. During the Great Crusade, Guilliman and the Imperium as a whole held to the imperial truth, an atheistic belief founded on rationality instead of faith. Now, in the 41st millennium, the imperial truth is all but dead, and the vast majority of citizens venerate the Emperor as divine. Unable to dismantle the Ecclesiarchy without causing massive civil war, Guilliman was forced to tolerate the cult that had metastasized within his beloved.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? I mean, that's like, us going to sleep, getting put inside cryostasis for 10,000 years. A lot can change in that time. So you knew what it was like before, but that's a lot of time, and a change that drastic takes a lot of time, and more equally, it takes a lot of time to change it. You know what I mean? So where do you even start? You essentially alone. All your loved ones are gone, dead, stuff like that. That's a tough position to be in. You woken up, you got all this power, but at what cost?
Of an Imperium. The passage of time had not only transformed the zeal of the people into radical intolerance, even the Space Marines had changed since the days of the Scouring. Instead of captains that thought for themselves and had the courage to speak their minds, even if their opinions ran contrary to their Primarchs, Guilliman was plagued by subordinates possessed of a loyalty so absolute that it bordered on sycophancy. Often we see that those around him are surprised by just how human he can be, as Kaito Sicarius experienced firsthand, as seen in The Armor of Fate.
Would they take it easy on him? Because you got the Inquisition that's going around, rooting out heresy, because the faith is so absolute. But since, he was around when the Emperor was, during the Crusade and everything, he knows how it actually is. You think they give him a little bit of slip up, but like, hey, we know that you like, the Emperor and everything. And, you come from a time where, you think you pretty much do what you want. Not, do what you want, but you could say some things. You can't do that now, bro. Okay. We only going to give you like a couple of tries because, we understand your situation. I'm wondering that. Let me know.
Of blueprints were scattered across the desk in front of him. He spotted something of interest written on one and reached for it, gritting his teeth against the purring of the suit. He always reached with his right hand. Integration points for the Hand of Dominion on his left made picking anything up nigh on impossible. Even with the overgauntlet and its underslung bolter removed, day-to-day tasks such as this were a struggle. His armored fingers pushed at the slick plastic. Ceramite skidded across the papers, knocking them to the ground in wafting flutters.
Oh, for the love of...
He grumbled as he bent awkwardly to pick them up. The armor of fate was bulky. As its waist joints prevented him from flexing his spine and reaching the floor, he had to kneel. He reached for the scattered flimsies. Fingertips failed to grasp the sheets, sending them fleeing in small armadas over the polished floor. He growled.
Ooh, I wonder if that's by design. Right? Him having to kneel to...
In frustration, abandoned his task and stood, drawing a curious look from Sicarius.
I have the manual dexterity of a Legio Cybernetica battle automaton, created by the Lord of all mankind, master of the greatest armies in the Imperium, and I cannot pick up a plastic flimsy.
He glared at the offending articles.
My greatest enemy.
There was a thoughtful quiet.
You are joking, my lord.
Guilliman looked at Sicarius. He had to turn all the way around to do so. The pauldron's ornamental wings and large halo mounted on his back made it impossible for him to see over his shoulder. At least he had stopped knocking into things. There was that.
By the throne, why am I expected to be serious at all times? Yes, Captain Sicarius, I am making light of my predicament. During the worst of the Great Crusade, I was known to make the occasional jest. Even after Terra fell, I did not spend my entire previous life writing deep thought into little notebooks, but sometimes dared to enjoy myself. I suppose that was not recorded in the hagiographies.
Humor is not something you are renowned for, my lord.
My time in this new age has revealed that to me amply.
Yeah,
Guilliman's
kind of much like rumors, how things just change over time, how the emperor's interest changed into, people becoming overzealous. So I'm pretty sure he come to an understanding that everything that's thought about him was probably twisted as well. Oh man, that's tough. That really is tough to be thrusted into a new world like that. Just new thoughts, you start questioning, who am I really? You know what I'm saying? What did I really do? But, their memories are, like I said, their memories are pretty good. They don't ever forget anything. So, how you gonna tell Guilliman, Roboute, how you gonna tell him who he is, right? I know you got your records, but here I am in the flesh telling you, no, that's not it.
fierce dedication to his father's Imperium had been tested time and again in the crucible of war. His battles against the forces of chaos, particularly against his brother Mortarion and his brother's Death Guard, had tempered his resolve to lift the Imperium off its knees and back onto its feet. Despite being the only one of his brothers left in the present day, his defiance remains undying. If he must shoulder the burden himself, then he will do so until his last breath. The Imperium has received the greatest kind of servant, the greatest kind of champion that it could possibly hope for in its hour of need. A man that learns from his mistakes. As his brother Corvus Corax once said about his capabilities, "From the fourth simulation on, he had my mark, and I could not beat him. He learns well, my brother, and he has a far greater vision than me. While I was rescuing a single world from slavery, he was already building an empire of hundreds. I won battles against him, but never a war." In the grim darkness of the far future, Roboute Guilliman is in his element. The board is set, and the players move their pieces in a galaxy where there is only war. The Primarch is...
Oh no, that was hard. That was hard, bro. He is in his element, bro. It's over. It's over, bro. In your element, we ain't talking about halfsies here, right? No half measures. He is in his element. Somebody as powerful, and he's not necessarily giving it to the rage, right? He still has statecraft, so he's still very, very wise and intelligent and everything. And he got that power. He got this ultra suit on, and he in his element, bro. Oh man, come on now. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous saying right there.
The Imperium's greatest strategic mind, an artisan of war. Only time will tell whether he will be able to weave a magnificent tapestry of victory, or be undone by the combined horrors of the enemies of mankind. The Thunderhawk's forward ramps lower, and warriors armored in blood red descend in unison. The Lion feels a pang of sorrow at seeing Sanguinius' sons. It is one thing to know that his loyal brothers are gone, but quite another to see this reminder of them. Quite unexpectedly, the Lion feels a rush of guilt.
Why should I have been the one to survive? Out of all of us, why should it have been me?
However, another part of him is weighing and assessing what he is seeing. 60 Space Marines is a potent force, even more so if they are armed, supplied, and organized by squads in a manner that his sons cannot currently be. What he could do if these 60 warriors were under his command. But of course they are not. They are here to do him honor, plucked away from what must undoubtedly have been other vital engagements, simply because of his status. And if their current commander decides he is a fraud, then the Lion is under no illusion that these warriors are here to kill him. Then, a new group of 10 Space Marines emerge from the central gunship, and between them comes a warrior in incredibly ornate golden plate, with a jump pack rising from his back, and his face masked. The Lion's eyes fall upon that mask, and rage fills him.
Who are you?
The assembled Blood Angels, who had their weapons held neutrally in parade form, bring them up to ready positions as one, although they do not yet aim them. But the Lion does not care.
Who are you?
He repeats louder and more angrily.
Who are you to wear my brother's face?
Stand down, brothers.
The Blood Angels lower their weapons once more. Then the gold-armored commander reaches up and removes his helm. The Lion can see the distant echo of the angel there, but greatly distilled by time. The warrior's hair is long and threaded with silver, and his pale skin is drawn tight over his cheekbones, with faint blue veins visible beneath. For all the power and command this Space Marine radiates, the Lion can tell that he is ancient.
I am Dante, commander of the Blood Angels. I greet you, Lionel Johnson,
Dante.
Lord of the Dark Angels and son of the Emperor.
The Blood Angels drop to one knee, just as smoothly as their Thunderhawks had landed. The Lion frowns, abruptly feeling as though he has been wrong-footed.
You are satisfied with my identity?
If you forgive me, Lord, you are older than I expected. But to have so readily and unprompted recognized the face of our Gene-Father says much. Besides, I have served the Emperor for over 1,000 years, and I've yet to meet a being with the same bearing as a Primarch. Save for another Primarch.
Over 1,000 years. He is ancient indeed. And... wait. Another Primarch? Get up, all of you! Tell me one of my brothers yet lives!
My apologies, my Lord Lion. I assumed word had arrived ahead of us. Lord Guilliman of Ultramar was revived and healed from the stasis in which he had been locked for millennia, and has launched the Indomitus Crusade to take back the Imperium from its enemies. He fought his way through the Great Rift and came to the rescue of my chapter and our blood brothers, and brought reinforcements with him in the form of Primaris Marines, a new breed of warrior developed over 10,000 years.
The Lion's thoughts whirl. The Imperium still exists. He is not being denounced as an imposter
Amazing.
and plunged into an ugly civil war against his brother's sons. There are other bastions of humanity out there in the galaxy with which he can link up and fight back the darkness. However, one thought rises to the surface above all others.
Roboute! I am not alone.
Oh my goodness. This was amazing. This was absolutely amazing. I didn't really know what to get into it, you know, because I'm sitting here and I'm in the weeds now. Honestly, I'm in the weeds when it comes to this type of stuff. Get some subscribe, and you know, I don't always have time to do like the really long like videos and everything. Today's my day off work, so I just when I usually get these done. But Astartes Anonymous, the way the voice actors, everybody that you have, this is just absolutely amazing, and I loved every bit of it. You guys want me to do some more of these from Astartes Anonymous? Let me know that down in the comments. Dave's out.